June 12th, 2026. Toronto kicks off the World Cup. The city spent $380 million to host 6 soccer games. In 2018, the estimate was $30 million. One restaurant owner says this will save his business. One city councilor says it's the worst deal Toronto ever made. One economist says the math doesn't add up. One of them is wrong. Here's the math that explains why Toronto might lose money on the world's biggest sporting event. The 2026 FIFA World Cup will be the largest in history. 48 teams, 104 matches, 16 cities across 3 countries, and Toronto is hosting the opening match. I analyzed Toronto's $380 million budget, reviewed city council documents, and compared Toronto to every other host city. Here's what nobody's saying. First, I'll show you the official projections, why the city thinks this will work. Then, the hidden costs everyone's missing. And finally, the one factor that determines if Toronto wins or loses. Let's start with the official projections. Toronto expects $940 million in economic output. That's hotels, restaurants, retail, entertainment, money flowing through the city for 39 days. 300,000 international visitors, 6,600 jobs created, and a global marketing moment worth hundreds of millions. For small businesses like Petros 82, the stakes are real. Benjamin Verdoljak, the general manager, told reporters, "The FIFA World Cup is so important to us. This can translate to repeat visits and long-term tourism." And there's evidence this works. When Vancouver hosted the 2010 Winter Olympics, tourism grew 7.2% per year. For 6 consecutive years, they added 290,000 British tourists. The media value? $1 billion. The Olympics put Vancouver on the global map. Toronto's hoping for the same result. The Fan Festival at Fort York, 6 matches at BMO Field, opening match coverage broadcast to 5 billion people worldwide. But here's the thing nobody's talking about. Vancouver's Olympics happened in February, the dead of winter when tourism is low. Toronto's World Cup, June and July, peak season, and that changes everything. Because when you look at the actual costs, the story changes. Josh Matlow, the Toronto councillor who voted against hosting, puts it bluntly. The deal that was signed is really bad for Toronto. We're spending more, we're getting less. The numbers back him up. In 2018, Toronto estimated this would cost $30 to $45 million. Today, $380 million. That's an 1,167% cost overrun. Where does that money come from? $104 million from federal taxes, $97 million from Ontario, still not fully confirmed by the way, and $179 million directly from Toronto taxpayers. To help cover costs, the city raised the hotel tax by 2.5% for 14 months. If you're staying in a Toronto hotel this summer, you're paying for the World Cup whether you watch soccer or not. But here's the bigger problem, one that most economic projections conveniently ignore. It's called displacement, and it's the reason Toronto might not make $1 from this event. Moshe Lander, an economics professor at Concordia University, explains, if regular tourists are displaced by World Cup visitors, the economic benefit is substantially lower. It's not new money, it's the same money from different people. Think about it. Toronto's hotels are already 80 to 90% full in June and July. The World Cup doesn't create new hotel rooms. It just fills the same rooms with different people. Which means that $940 million economic boost, it might be closer to zero. And here's the proof Toronto is worried. Their hotel prices only went up 78%. Mexico City, 961%. San Francisco, 370%. Vancouver, 233%. Toronto's modest increase doesn't mean they're being nice. It means hotels know they can't charge much more because they're already at capacity, which means the economic boom everyone's counting on might just be a reshuffling of who's visiting. If you want to know how this story might end, look at Brazil. In 2014, Brazil spent $15 billion hosting the World Cup. The government promised infrastructure improvements, economic growth, and global prestige. What they got? Stadiums that are now financial burdens, promised infrastructure that was never built, and tax debts shifted to suppliers. Some of those World Cup stadiums are literally abandoned today. Moshe Lander, it's going to take years, if not decades, to pay off. But remember Vancouver. After the 2010 Olympics, tourism grew 7.2% per year for 6 years. They attracted 290,000 new British tourists. The event became a marketing windfall. So which future is Toronto's? Brazil's cautionary tale, or Vancouver's success story? The answer comes down to one factor everyone's missing: timing. Vancouver's Olympics worked because they happened in February, the dead of winter when tourism is low. Adding visitors in February doesn't displace anyone. Toronto's World Cup, June and July. Peak season. Hotels are already full. Restaurants are already packed. Benjamin Verdolyak's restaurant is already dealing with ongoing construction, traffic, and parking issues. And the World Cup will make that worse for 39 days. So here's the real question. What is Toronto actually buying with $179 million? In taxpayer money? The answer: infrastructure and branding. BMO Field is getting $146 million in upgrades. 4 massive LED screens, 30 feet by 50 feet, 5 million pixels each, 17,000 new seats, high-speed Wi-Fi. These improvements stay after the World Cup. Fort York hosts the FIFA Fan Festival. Centennial Park gets a $20 million training facility that becomes a community asset. And the branding? 5 billion people will watch the World Cup. Toronto gets opening match coverage and global media exposure worth hundreds of millions. So, will Toronto make money? Probably not directly. The city expects $392 million in GDP boost, but is spending $179 million in taxpayer money. After displacement, the net benefit might be close to zero. Benjamin Verdoljak is betting on something economists can't measure: the intangible value of Toronto hosting the world. Josh Matlow is right. The deal could have been better. And Moshe Lander is right. The numbers don't add up the way city officials claim. But here's the thing. We won't know who's right until 2027, 2028, maybe even 2030. That's when we'll see if those 300,000 visitors became repeat tourists. What do you think? Will Toronto profit or lose money? Drop your prediction in the comments. And if you want to see how this plays out in real time, hit subscribe, because I'll be covering the actual results in June 2026.